honestly, Arteta,
yeah.
you know, the goalie situation, I think he's brought on himself, but you can't help but be pleased for Havertz. I mean, come on, he's been hung out to dry by all and sundry.
Yeah, well, you in particular. Arsenal then with a 1-0 win.
I don't decide where he plays.
It puts them top of the table then, 1 point clear of Manchester City. Not the most memorable of matches, but 3 big points for Arsenal.
Well, 3 huge points, and it's one of the reasons why I actually think that, to me, they're closer to Man City than Liverpool.
Oh, really?
And the reason I say that is because they're top of the league without playing anywhere near as well as they did last year. They've had Jesus out for a huge chunk of the season. That's been a problem for them. They had Odegaard out for a bit there. They've been missing Partey. The Havertz experiment, shall we call it, hasn't worked in the starting 11. Yeah, that's a big moment for him and a big moment for the team. But that clearly hasn't worked. So he's had to change that. And then he's had the goalie shenanigans as well. And yet, they are still top of the league. So that's saying to me, if this manager doesn't try and overthink it,
right,
between... And there's a lot of... Listen, there's a lot of water to go under the bridge. Of course there is. We're not even, you know, at the second half of the year yet. Nowhere near it. But they're in prime position without playing anywhere near as they did last year, with all these issues that have been brought on, most of them, by the manager himself, yet they're still there. They're saying to me they're not going away.
Who have you got, Stevie? Is the biggest challenges?
I find it difficult to separate Arsenal and Liverpool, to be honest.
Right.
I can't disagree.
There's not much.
There's not. I can't disagree with anything you said there. However, it's coming time that Martinelli and Odegaard and Saka and Jesus start producing.
OK.
Now, you can't argue with wins. The name of the game is winning a game. But they're going to have to, at some stage, put a run of games together where they're all involved and they're all scoring goals. Because if they don't, they ain't winning the league. No chance. And, the reason I have them level with Liverpool is I think Liverpool's forward line is better than Arsenal's, but Arsenal's defence is better than Liverpool's. That's why I've got them tied as far as challenging Manchester City.
Well, I think with Jesus, it's fitness. And that's been a big worry for Arsenal, their fans, the manager, and maybe even to an extent that if it continued and if it happens again before Christmas and something happens to him, January they might have to look.
Yeah, they're linked to Ivan Toney, aren't they, in January?
Not the only ones. But that's telling you a story that his fragility of missing games, as well as Eddie Nketiah has done coming in, he's not going to carry them for 6 months. He comes in, does a good job, then sort of peters away. Jesus' fitness is absolutely key to this front line getting back up to speed. And I agree with Saka and Martinelli, but Saka did go through a period where he just played an unbelievable amount of games. They weren't great today, Arsenal. Had a goal chalked off in the first half, Trossard, which was very tight, but it was the correct call. But it was a big moment for Havertz. I mean, it's hard. Look, none of us think he should be in the team from the start. Even the manager doesn't think that. But he's having a crisis of confidence. And then he goes away and he's got some numpty manager at Germany who thinks he's going to play him left back, then left wing back, and hang him out to dry again. So at least here he comes on and doesn't just score a goal, scores the winning goal.
Yeah.
That has to boost that lad's confidence.
Frank, Arsenal were the team to watch, really, weren't they, last season? Some of the football they played was brilliant, entertaining clashes, which we haven't really seen so far this campaign. But as Craig said, quite rightly, they are top of the table. Have they got it within them to get back to that sort of flashy football that we saw?
Well, it's complicated because it's always the second season that you have to prove what you did the first season. And yeah, they played well last season, but at the end of the day, because especially I think Saliba was missing for the end of the season, they kind of lost their mojo. So maybe they tried to go in another way to make sure they're going to get the point that they need. And today is a perfect example of maybe not playing well, but getting the 3 points, as you said, and maybe not deserving to get the 3 points. Don't forget that Rice saved on the line, Zinchenko saved also on the line, and they could have lost. It's never easy to win against the Bears, especially when you play them in their own stadium. But But Arsenal didn't show too much, but they were effective. Last season, maybe they would have lost a kind of game like that. So maybe they go another way. Maybe they are not as enthusiastic or generous as they've been last season, but they're effective. And that's the main point. You have to get the points where you have to get the points, and they got the 3 points at the base, and it's always good for the confidence. And I'm with Craig. If on top of it, Havertz starts scoring goals, decisive goals, it can be a plus. Because for me, they have a problem. They don't have everywhere, in every position, the players who can substitute the other. For Gabriel Jesus, Craig mentioned that, but for Saka, if Saka is not in a good form, they have nobody behind him. They have Trossard on the left side with Martinelli, but at front, they're too short for me, and they will have to think about that in December, in the winter market.
We need a podcast, Aaron Ramsdale. It's time for his dad to pop up.
There you are, yeah, exactly.
But actually, Andy Townsend, who was on the commentary, made a very good point, and he says, look...
You're just stealing everybody else's points today.
Well, you've got to take them on board and say, because Ramsdale was looking like a player that was trying to convince his manager that he was the number one. Right. And Andy was saying in the commentary, he's already made his mind up. Yeah. You're not going to win your place back by playing well today because David Raya is the number one. The only way Ramsdale's going to get that place back full time is if David Raya has a string of games where he's looking ropey. Which I have
he's
to say.
had that.
Well,
he's had a few already.
And I think it must have been so difficult for him coming in thinking, right, I need to shine again here. After being the number one by far. And how was that mindset for a guy where the Brentford fans, my God, they were giving Ramsdale so much stick. I mean, it was actually quite funny. I hope he found it sort of funny, but that's a difficult scenario, and that's a scenario that's been cemented in place by a manager tinkering with stuff that he really didn't need to tinker with. But his argument will be, well, stuff you, we're top of the league.